Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Apa khabar semua? Semua bapak-bapak, hari ini adalah hari yang pertama, our first class, kelas research methodology. Jadi saya mengalu-ngalukan semua untuk hadir di kelas ini. Ahlan wa sahlan, welcome to Unishams. This is our first class, and the main objective of this class, this is a prerequisite class. Kelas ini merupakan kelas prasyarat, ya. Jadi objektif utama kelas ini ialah di samping untuk mendedahkan kepada asas, ya, asas bagaimana untuk menulis sebuah research, how to prepare the research, dan juga present. Selepas prepare perlu present dalam bentuk written and dalam bentuk oral, ya. Sebab untuk lulus PhD juga calon-calon semua perlu menyiapkan sebuah research yang kita panggil thesis, ya. Jadi kelas ini adalah sebagai suatu latihan, ya, untuk memberi persediaan kepada semua calon-calon S3 untuk lulus insya-Allah dalam steps, langkah-langkah dalam langkah-langkah untuk mendapat suatu PhD, ya. Jadi dalam kelas ini kita akan belajar tentang basic step of research process, data collection methods, research methodologies, data analysis, finding, discussion, and report writing. Jadi insya-Allah kelas ini akan membantu bapak-bapak untuk memperbaiki lagi, ya, initial proposal. Saya rasa semua sudah hantar, ya, research proposal semasa memohon dahulu. Kita akan memperbaiki lagi dari semasa ke semasa, dan insya-Allah pada semester ini kita akan adakan kolokium 1, kolokium 1, di mana calon-calon perlu untuk membentangkan initial proposal, ya. Jadi initial proposal yang telah dihantar dahulu insya-Allah akan diperbaiki sepanjang kelas ini, ya, dan bila kita belajar kita terus baiki dari semasa ke semasa. Bapak-bapak boleh bertanya semasa kita mempelajari research method ini, boleh bertanya tentang research masing-masing. Misalnya boleh tanya pada saya, boleh tak jika saya menulis begini, problem statement saya, boleh bertanya. Kita sama-sama akan membantu satu sama lain, insya-Allah. Okey. Jadi course objektif kelas ini ialah pertamanya explain various epistemological and ontological considerations associated with a research. Apa-apa epistemologi yang berkaitan dengan research kita akan bincang sikit sebanyak. Demonstrate a systematic understanding of various statistical techniques for quantitative research and qualitative analysis. For qualitative research. Jadi research ada dua jenis. Satunya berbentuk kuantitatif dan satu lagi berbentuk kualitatif. Jadi untuk kedua-dua jenis research ni kita akan membincangkan teknik untuk menganalisis data. Bagaimana kita menganalisis data kuantitatif dan juga bagaimana kita menganalisis data yang berbentuk kualitatif. Dan yang pentingnya prepare research output in the form of a research report. Jadi kita akan membincangkan bagaimanakah format thesis yang digunakan di Unishams. Ya, basically kita ada 5 bab ya, 5 bab. Itu chapter 1 introduction, chapter 2 literature review, chapter 3 research method. Some people write research methodology. Chapter 4, research findings. Chapter 5, recapitulation. Recommendation. And conclusion. Jadi basically kita ada 5 bab yang akan kita bincang satu persatu. Bagaimana untuk menulis setiap bab itu. Jadi sepanjang saya mengendalikan kelas ini, jadi saya mohon pelajar-pelajar jangan segan-segan untuk bertanya soalan. Boleh bertanya soalan bila-bila masa, semasa saya bercakap. Jadi jangan segan-segan untuk bertanya. Jenis, macam saya kata, ini kursus prasyarat. Setiap calon S3 perlu lulus. InsyaAllah semua lulus, jangan risau. Kita ada 2 jenis tugasan. Tugasan pertama ialah initial proposal. Kita akan bincang dari semasa ke semasa. Bagaimana untuk memperbaiki, to improve your research proposal. Supaya nanti dengan siapnya assignment ini, semua calon S3 sudah bersedia untuk membentang di kolokium 1. Jadi tugasan ini sebenarnya adalah preparation untuk bapak-bapak membentangkan di kolokium 1. Baik, projek individu. Jadi initial ni, pada peringkat ini, untuk menulis tugasan ini, setiap calon S3 perlu mempunyai tajuk. Dan saya rasa semua bapak-bapak sudah mempunyai tajuk. Perlu mempunyai tajuk. Dan perlu ada initial proposal, iaitu yang pertama perlu ada problem statement. Dalam a few sentences, dalam beberapa perkataan, ataupun dalam satu paragraf, ataupun 2 paragraf terpulang. Tuliskan tentang problem statement. Selepas memilih tajuk, boleh tulis tentang problem statement. Mungkin sebahagian sudah menulis. Kemudian research questions. Jadi setiap calon perlu menentukan berapakah research question yang perlu ditulis. Kebiasaannya antara 3 hingga 5 research question. Dan juga research objektif. Kalau research question ada 5 sebagai contoh. Jadi research objektif juga adalah 5. Kebiasaannya bilangan research questions dengan research objektif itu adalah sama. Contohnya kalau ada 5 research questions, jadi research objektif juga ada 5. Sebab kedua-duanya adalah reflective of each other. Mirror of each other, bayangan pada antara satu sama lain. Cuma bezanya research questions adalah persoalan yang ingin dijawab oleh pengkaji. Dia adalah bentuk persoalan, bentuk questions. The questions to be answered at the end of the research. Itulah research questions. Research objective adalah the objectives or the aim or the purpose of the research. Iaitu research objective itu ialah apakah yang ingin dicapai. What is to be achieved? What is the objective or the aim or the purpose of the research that is to be achieved at the end of the research. Biasanya kita akan menjawab setiap persoalan ini dan kita cuba mencapai objektif setiap kajian ini dalam bab 3 dalam bab 4 iaitu semasa kita collect data, analyze data dan mendapat penemuan kajian. Jadi chapter 4 itu research findings will answer your research questions and will answer your research will achieve your research objectives. Okey, itu tugasan itu 20%. Calon-calon juga perlu membentangkan dalam bentuk PowerPoint mungkin dalam masa 15 hingga 20 minit selepas siap initial proposal. Dan tarikh untuk siapkan ada dalam Google Classroom. Sekejap saya cek. Kalau tidak silap ialah 18 September untuk siapkan assignment ataupun tugasan. 18 September. Saya percaya semua sudah ada initial proposal itu, cuma kita akan baiki dari semasa ke semasa. InsyaAllah. Boleh ajukan soalan bila-bila masa ataupun dalam WhatsApp saya untuk saya membantu bapa-bapa improve lagi. Jadi kelas ini dan assignment ini adalah bertujuan untuk membantu calon-calon supaya lulus step 1. Langkah pertama dalam PhD iaitu colloquium 1. Jadi insya-Allah dalam masa first semester ini juga kita akan membantu pelajar-pelajar atau calon-calon S3 ini untuk lulus colloquium 1. Di samping untuk lulus subject research method ini jadi insya-Allah semua akan lulus dengan syarat hadir ke kelas Kalau tidak ada susah juga untuk kita bantu Jadi assignment 2 dipanggil individual project individual project 30%. Kita akan menulis chapter 1, chapter 1, chapter 2 and chapter 3 of your real thesis Jadi chapter 1, chapter 2 and chapter 3. Jadi chapter 1 adalah introduction. Nanti kita tunjuk contoh bagaimana untuk menulis chapter 1. Kemudian chapter 2 literature review dan chapter 3 adalah research method. Jadi at least kita dapat menulis chapter 1, chapter 2 dan chapter 3 dan hantar sebagai projek individual project 30%. Jadi bagaimana untuk menulis chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3? Sebenarnya kita akan ubah suai daripada initial proposal yang telah ditulis itu, kita akan ubah suai menjadi chapter 1, chapter 2 and chapter 3. Baik, ada soalan setakat ini?
Prof, mau tanya Prof?
Ya, silakan.
Ya, untuk riset tesis kita ini proposal sudah dikirimkan ya Prof ya, dan nanti akan ada penyesuaian dari Prof. Yusuf. Kalau dalam proses penyesuaiannya kita sudah mulai publish, apa dibolehkan, Prof?
Boleh kan? Boleh. Ya, ya. Itu yang sebaik-baiknya. Ya, syarat untuk salah satu syarat untuk lulus PhD juga ialah kita perlu publish ya. Satu publication untuk jurnal international journal yang berwasit ya, International Reference Journal, dan satu yang bertaraf Scopus. Jadi yang kita risau ialah yang bertaraf Scopus ya. Kalau yang belum biasa terbitkan di Scopus, jadi untuk penerbitan Scopus itu memakan masa. Yang pertama, memakan masa, dan yang kedua perlu memastikan kualiti dan juga format mengikut Scopus ya. Jadi itu kadang-kadang prosesnya lama kerana jurnal Scopus itu sendiri kadang-kadang mengambil masa yang lama. Yang kedua, kadang-kadang juga artikel kita di-reject ya. Di-reject, jadi kita terpaksa mencari jurnal Scopus yang lain. Jadi kalau sudah biasa, alhamdulillah. Kalau yang belum, membiasakan diri akan melalui proses begini ya. Itu kita akan mengambil masa. Jadi macam Dr. Saiful sebut, kita seeloknya bermula dari sekarang ya. Cuma kita tunggu siapakah supervisor yang dicadangkan yang akan ditentukan dalam jawatankuasa ya. InsyaAllah.
Oh, artinya kalau kita mau proses untuk bimbingan begitu, supervisornya itu harus menunggu dari tadi pengumuman dari kampus ya, Prof ya?
Iya, meeting kalau saya tak silap hari Khamis ini ya, 8 atau bulan 9 akan diadakan satu mesyuarat, satu meeting untuk penentuan supervisor bagi semua calon S3 yang baru mendaftar. Jadi saya sudah nyatakan kepada Dr. Tahir supaya memasukkan semua calon daripada ITB Ahmad Dahlan walaupun belum mendaftar. Ya, kita tentukan siap-siap. Sebab saya katakan semuanya walaupun belum mendaftar, tapi insya-Allah cuma formality ya. Sebab ini urusan visa dan sebagainya, ini cuma formality ya, bukan berbentuk akademik ya. Jadi yang akademik semua sudah settle. Maksudnya kita sudah menentukan bahawa semua calon yang memohon layak dari segi akademik ya, mempunyai kelayakan yang sesuai untuk mengikuti pengajian S3 ya. Cuma yang lambatnya ialah proses ini ya, proses VAL, proses pembayaran dan sebagainya ya, menyebabkan calon belum dapat metric number ya. Jadi secara resminya belum dapat masuk Google Classroom ya, belum dapat register dan belum dapat dibuat pemilihan supervisor. Tapi saya sudah nyatakan kita akan tetap memasukkan nama lah, sebab itu cuma formality ya. Sebab kita dua negara berbeza, jadi macam-macam requirement yang diperlukan ya, pasport dan sebagainya. Itu cuma formality lah bagi saya. Di sini kalau dilihat 20 tambah 30 tambah 40 90 ya. Ada satu lagi 10% yang saya tulis sebagai
Kehadiran.
ya participation ya. Ini kita panggil, kita ubah. Untuk sementara kita tulis persembahan ya, persembahan. Ini bukan tutorial ya. Persembahan presentation ya. Presentation ya. Okey, persembahan atau presentation ya. Dan untuk persembahan dan presentation ini, kita akan mengadakan UCIC, Unisham Cypher International Conference, insya-Allah pada tahun ini. Tarikh tentatifnya adalah bulan November. Dan saya juga mohon supaya bapa-bapa membantu saya ya. Saya baru saja dilantik dan belum dapat surat rasmi ya sebagai chairperson of the committee untuk UCIC. Chairperson untuk jawatan kuasa ya, penganjur UCIC, Unisham Cypher International Conference. Kita akan buat meeting dari semasa ke semasa dan kita akan adakan secara online dan kita akan tulis di situ kerjasama antara Unisham, Lembaga Zakat Negeri Kedah dan juga ITB Ahmad Dahlan ya.
Alhamdulillah. Terima kasih Prof. Tahniah. Selamat
Ya,
Prof.
jadi kita akan buat secara santai-santai, simple-simple saja. Tujuannya untuk membolehkan pelajar S3 kita membentangkan dan akan kita publish di CGIF ya. Kita ada jurnal Cypher International Journal of Islamic Finance ataupun CGIF. Jadi kita akan buat secara simple saja, Dr. Saiful, online saja. Nanti saya mohon bantuan daripada semua calon-calon S3 dan juga calon-calon S2. Kita akan buat ini secara santai saja. Nanti kita akan panggil untuk meeting bila sesuai. Jadi mungkin ada yang sudah banyak pengalaman. Dulu saya telah dilantik pada tahun 2021. Sudah ada satu conference. Kemudian saya terlantik pada tahun 2020 ya. 2020. Saya sudah lupa. And then 2021 orang lain telah dilantik. Kemudian tidak berjalan ya. Seminar itu telah gagal. Dan saya dilantik sekali lagi pada tahun ini, tahun 2022. Sebab tahun lepas diamanahkan kepada seorang yang lain dan beliau telah gagal. Saya baru saja dimaklumkan untuk mengambil alih daripada beliau. Jadi saya mohon kerjasama daripada semua ya. Jadi seminar itu kita akan buat secara santai saja. Kita akan mula keluarkan calling for papers dan kita akan tentukan tema dan semuanya kita jalankan dalam bentuk online ya, insya-Allah. Jadi itu juga saya akan masukkan dalam 10% inilah. Seperti yang saya katakan, bapa-bapa tidak perlu tidak perlu terlalu risau tentang lulus atau tidak kelas ini. Insya-Allah semua lulus. Yang lebih penting pada itu ialah kita belajar bagaimana untuk membuat persediaan untuk lulus PhD itu, untuk lulus penulisan thesis ya. Sebab penulisan tesis akan perlu lulus dari aspek return. Aspek return bermaksud setiap calon perlu menulis dalam Word 5 bab yang diperlukan untuk lulus tesis, dan juga perlu oral presentation seperti biasa. Kolokium 1 initial proposal, kolokium 1 proposal defense, chapter 1, 2 and 3, kemudian mock viva semua bab chapter 1 through chapter 5, dan real viva juga chapter 1 through chapter 5. Jadi itu 4 step lah yang insya-Allah kita akan cuba pastikan semua calon lulus GOT iaitu viva pada semester yang kelima insya-Allah. Real viva pada semester yang kelima. Semester ke-6 cuma tunggu convocation dan mungkin ada sikit sebanyak what's the word, amendment. Contohnya kalau lulus pass with minor correction, itu dilakukan pada semester yang ke-6 InsyaAllah semua lulus dan dapat konvo pada semester yang ke-6. Saya mohon untuk berehat sekejap. Kita akan sambung pada pukul 11 insyaAllah. Ya, boleh minum-minum dulu, boleh bincang dulu ya.
Baik, Prof.
Nanti silakan bertanya soalan. Ya, mohon rehat dalam 20 minit. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Itu papanya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan, brother Uncle.
Yes, thank you, welcome, sir.
Welcome to the class. So how's
Alhamdulillah.
everything in Uganda?
Uganda is Alhamdulillah good.
Alhamdulillah. So
Yeah.
have you registered yourself? So every student needs to register this class MFQ 8113 and also MDP 8000. So two days you need to.
I haven't yet registered. I'm waiting for student. I tried to go to the portal, but I found that I've not yet got my student number ID.
Okay.
So I submitted that query. So I'm waiting for the response.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Yes.
Anybody here who already has a metric number?
From ITB-ID, we haven't already received the number, Prof.
You have the number, alhamdulillah.
Not yet, Prof.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
From all the students from ITB-ID, not yet.
Yes. You need to contact Bapa Fakhruddin, yeah, from Pusat Pengajian Siswaza, the graduate manager.
Yeah, Prof. Inshallah tomorrow, Prof, I will make a WhatsApp call with him.
Okay, inshallah. After you receive the metric number, you can enter the portal and register two subject codes that I will put up. I will share in the chat box. Yeah, where is the chat box? Okay. Okay. So all your initial plan, can you please email again to me? Because the initial plan that you submitted not directly to me, but rather to the Graduate Management Center, I can get from them, but I would appreciate it if you can email to me as soon as possible, because on the 8th of September, this Thursday, we'll have a meeting. So I give you my email, Dr. Yusuf Haji Osman at unishams.edu.my. And after you get your metric number, you need to register MFQ 113 Advanced Research Methodology. And also MDP 8000, I think. This is called proposal defense. So those are two codes that you need to register. Yeah? After you get your metric number. Okay.
Prof. Yusuf, I already sent you email my research proposal. Within the email, can we also propose the name of supervisor?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. You can send to me and I will bring to the meeting this Thursday. Inshallah.
Okay. Inshallah.
And I will forward to Dr. Tahir, because Dr. Tahir is the coordinator that will arrange the meeting. But if you send to me, it's also okay. I will forward
All
to
right. Inshallah.
So everybody. Please submit or email to me, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
Alhamdulillah. Mr. Sheikh Iradat, I'm having a class right now.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Okay, so let's continue. So this is the assessment for this class. Like I said, inshallah, everybody will pass. This is a pass-fail class. No grades, no A, B, C, D. It's just a pass-fail class. So far, nobody has failed this class. I've been teaching since 2014. So don't worry about that. Like I said, the main purpose of this class is not to fail anybody, is to help everybody to prepare for Colloquium 1, which is the oral presentation of the initial plan. Yeah? So we'll talk a little bit about your initial plan. Basically, your initial plan is just whatever that you have sent. Yeah, but we will improve from time to time. Okay, you can send now the initial plan. The initial plan that you send to my email will be used as a basis to choose the main supervisor. Yeah, that's all. Don't worry if you make mistakes or you don't do it correctly. It's all right. The main purpose now is to send your initial proposal to my email for the purpose of choosing the supervisor. Your supervisor will be chosen based on your topic. All right, inshallah. So I will let you know who your supervisors are. And Dr. Saiful and Bapak Fakhri, yeah? Where is
Yep.
Bapak?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah. So I book you to be my supervisor.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Prof.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah, Prof.
The,
Insyaallah.
the request email to you.
Inshallah. Actually, for each supervisor, the maximum is 10. So I'm like fully booked. So, okay, inshallah, the rest we will select the right supervisor, inshallah. Okay, any question on the assessment? So 10% for presentation in our seminar, and like I said, I hope everybody will help me to plan and implement the seminar. We'll have a seminar, inshallah, in November. We'll make it a very simple, straightforward seminar. The seminar is called UCIC, Unisham Cypher International Conference, and the theme is Islamic finance and Khairu Ummah. That is the theme of the seminar, Islamic finance and Khairu Ummah. Okay, this is some of the topics that we will cover. Research strategies, research design, planning a research project, and formulating research questions, including how to write your chapter 1 and initial plan. And then we will also cover qualitative research, including ethnography and some other qualitative research techniques like phenomenology, triangulation, and of course documentation, or some people call library research. So we will cover both quantitative and also qualitative research, although I believe most of you will do quantitative research. Yeah? And yes, we will cover qualitative data analysis also, and the nature of quantitative research, population and sampling, questionnaire design. I believe most of you will choose a questionnaire as a source of, as a way of collecting data. So we will discuss about how to collect the data using questionnaire, the fieldwork, how to input the data into SPSS, and how to analyze data using smart PLS. Okay, so these are the quantitative data analysis. We'll talk about multivariate analysis and structural equation modeling. And then writing up research, we will cover a little bit how to use Mendeley to do the citation and reference. Okay, so inshallah, this is a tentative topics that we will cover. Of course, it might change a little bit depending on your questions. So I encourage you to ask questions in this class. So Mr. Songko, you can ask any questions. Inshallah, I'll try to answer your questions. Okay. Boleh ya, bapak-bapak semua boleh bertanya soalan. dalam bahasa English ataupun dalam bahasa Indonesia pun boleh, insyaAllah.
Sorry, Prof. I have question, Prof.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. If title of our thesis is different with paper title of paper for journal, that is okay. Such as my thesis title is wait a minute. Proper digital Islamic social finance model for micro and small enterprise during crisis, but for paper journal about macroeconomic and performance banking, that is okay to deliver for is it okay? Prof?
I think it's okay. We just have to prove that there are some connections between your paper and the thesis. Even if it is a very little connection, the topic doesn't have to be exactly the same, but we can, we have to give justification that it is actually has a connection between the two. Then it is all right. And then number two, the main author has to be the PhD student, and the second is your supervisors. Yes, it cannot be. It cannot include any other persons. Yeah. So you and your supervisors.
How about the co-supervisor?
Yes, main and also co-supervisors. Yes.
Okay.
Your
Thank you.
co-supervisors will be decided in this meeting. So please send the candidate that you choose as your co-supervisor. It will be decided on the 8th of September, this Thursday, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you.
So you can email the CV of the co-supervisors that you choose.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Prof. Yusuf, about the position of the writer of the article, can we put our university's name on it?
Sure.
Mm.
Sure.
So it means that we will have to how to say to position as a writer.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. You can, for example, the institutions, you can put number one, your institution, and also uniforms, if you like. So we have to think about the way, yeah? For example, Dr. Saiful, number one. And then number one, for example, a senior lecturer at ITB Ahmad Dahlan. And
Dr. Unisham.
PhD candidate at Unisham, for example. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Bro.
Excuse me, sir. Can I ask you for questions?
Sure. You can ask.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think for the group session here, I think I'm the last person who can fulfill all the requirement to send the initial proposal, because I think I'm still on progress to make my own proposal to you. But if I fail to worst comes to worst, I failed to send my initial proposal before the 8th September, then what will happen to me? Because you said that the proposal will be discussed with you and your peers, with you and your team in university. How about it?
Nothing will happen to you, but the selection of supervisor will be late. You will,
I see.
it will be a delay
I see.
in the selection of your supervisor. So you will not know
Okay.
your supervisor.
Okay, then I have to work hard then for these 2 days.
Yes. So don't worry about, like I said, don't worry about whether it is correct or not. For initial proposal, basically, we just want to see the topic that you choose and basically the method, whether quantitative or qualitative analysis. That's a basis for us to choose a supervisor. For example, you put up your topic and a little bit about problem statement, research question, research objective. Even if it is long, it is all right. There's no pass or fail at the initial proposal.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Sorry, would you please send me the outline of the initial proposals to give me just a brief guidelines?
Sure. I put up in the Google Classroom. Later, I will share in this WhatsApp also.
Okay, thank you very much.
The initial proposal actually is the same as assignment. So assignment for this class is designed to prepare you to write the initial proposal. Maybe I will share now. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
It will take time. I will have to go to the Google Classroom.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Prof.
You're welcome. Can you see? Boleh lihat
Ya, Prof.
Yes, Prof.
Okay, this is the assignment 1 that I designed to help you prepare for the colloquium 1. So your assignment 1 is the initial plan of a research topic chosen by students, and the deadline is 17th of September 2020. If you're a little bit late, it's still all right. So number one, you need to choose your topic. That's number 1. Okay, tentatively you choose any topic. Okay. And then you need to establish the research purpose. So at this point, you need to clearly write your research questions and research objectives. Yeah. For example, if you have 4 research questions, then you have 4 research objectives. So research questions are questions that you want to answer at the end of your research, and it will show in the research findings. So what are the questions that you want to answer? And research objectives are the objectives of your research. What objectives that you want to achieve. Basically, or normally, research questions and research objectives are the same thing, but they are written in a different way. Research questions are written in the form of questions, right? For example, does attitude have a significant influence on compliance behavior? For example, so it's a question. Does attitude have a significant influence on the compliance behavior of zakat?
Nah.
For example.
Yeah.
And your research objectives would be
Huh?
to analyze the significant relationship between attitude and compliance behavior of zakat. So basically, they are the same thing. Research questions are written in a question format, and research objectives are written in a statement format. And then you write a little bit about significance of the study. Basically, significance of the study include why you want to do this research. Okay, you want to do the research if it is significance, right? So significance of the study is written in the form of the significance of the study of to theory, for example. This study is important because it has significance in terms of contribution to the study. So for PhD, you need a little bit of a novelty, yeah? Novelty, like novel, eh? Novelty means you want to do something that is new, that has never been done before. Meaning, you cannot do exactly what others have done. It has to be different somewhat. Cannot be 100% the same as the previous thesis. So that is the meaning of significance of the study. So it is significant because you want to do something that is noble. Noble means somewhat new that has not been done before. There are possibly similarities with previous research because if you want to do research, you have to start from previous research, right? You cannot start from zero. Usually we don't start from zero. We start from what others have done. And then we want to extend and do something that is noble or unique or new. So there are similarities and there are differences between your research and the previous research. When we talk about research, it means all the research by lecturers, researchers, and also the thesis by PhD students, and also dissertation by master students. And then significance in terms of, so the number one, significance in terms of theory. You can explain how your research can contribute to the theory, can improve the theory, can contribute to the extension or expansion of the existing knowledge about the topic. Okay, and number two, significance in terms of the practical significance. Usually we write, okay, this study is hoped to be used as a guide or as a guidance for policymakers and authorities, something like that, so that we have to imagine that whatever that we have done will probably and possibly has significance to the policymakers, institutions, government, and authorities. Yeah, and the organization and structure of your thesis, literature review a little bit, not much, maybe 4 or 5. You need to write about what others have done in the area of the topic that you choose, because obviously we cannot start from zero. We have to know what has been done by other researchers. So at this stage, 4 or 5 should be enough. The more the merrier. Lagi banyak, lagi bagus. And then research method and design. You need to at least explain whether your research is quantitative or qualitative. If it is quantitative, you can explain how you're going to collect the data. Maybe you collect using a questionnaire. How are you going to analyze the data, and what is expected of the data? So methods for collecting and analyzing data are discussed in order to meet your research objectives. So your research design and your research objectives and research questions must be aligned. Must be aligned. There must be some kind of alignment. So your research method is written to answer your research objective, right? To achieve your research objective and to answer your research questions. Okay. So like I said, don't worry if you make mistakes at this stage. Yeah, Bapak Indra, just write whatever that you think is appropriate. You can ask other friends also. You can ask Bapak Fakhri, Dr. Saiful, Bapak Fauzi, Brother Sosonko. Okay, you can ask around.
Yes, hello,
Sorry, I cannot hear. The sound is not very clear. Can you repeat the question?
No, it's not a question, but my statement that I will ask the professor for my research proposal and also my course.
You are always welcome, Brother Indra.
Can someone repeat for me? I cannot hear.
Yeah, he said he will come to me, Prof, to ask about the proposal he want to write.
Oh, thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
Sosonko,
I already sent my application to him, and probably next week he will come to my house.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. So for me to be successful in the journey in the PhD journey, it's very important that we have the support, right? We have support from your supervisor. We have support from our friends, fellow students, and of course from our family. So that's very important. So I encourage us to support each other. I will be here to support you, even if I'm not your supervisor. So sometimes we can, have or Zoom meeting if you have questions. Okay. So Bapak Indra, okay, Bapak Adi, or Bapak Indra, is it okay? You don't worry about making mistakes. Huh? Sometimes I told my students, that's right, whatever you think is appropriate, you will not go to jail. Don't be afraid. If you make mistakes, you will not be charged in court. So it's not sinful to make mistakes. It's all right to make mistakes. Sometimes it's better to make mistakes at the early stage so that we learn from mistakes. Huh?
Yes, right. You said that one supervisor can supervise the most 10 students. Is it right? Is it true?
I cannot hear very clearly.
Oh, sorry.
Sound is not.
Sound is not good. Sorry, I think it's my signal.
It's not audible.
You said that. Sorry, I read it. You said that one supervisor can only supervise 10 students.
Yes.
So now I know how many students that you already supervise.
We will discuss in a meeting on the 8th of September. According to our Ministry of Higher Education, they have this kind of rule that they allow one lecturer to supervise the maximum of 10 of PhD students. So that is the rule imposed by the government, the Ministry of Higher Education. But we have other supervisors, inshallah.
So it means that only 10 students that you can have as a supervisor, Prof. In all universities or only in your university?
In all universities.
Wow.
So they count the number of your supervisors either at your institution or other institutions. As a main supervisor, as a co-supervisor, it's all right.
Oh, I see.
So that means even if I cannot be your main supervisor, I can be your co-supervisor.
Wow, that's good, sir.
Okay. So back to my questions. How many supervisee that you already supervised, Prof?
I have fully booked. I have 8, and Dr. Saiful and Bapa Fakhri already booked me early. So basically, I'm
Can I be the other yours? Can I be one of your supervisors as well, sir?
As a co-supervisor, inshallah, yes, as a co-supervisor. Because we have to, comply with the Ministry of Higher Education's regulation. If we don't comply, we'll be in trouble. So that's the thing. Sometimes we have to comply.
Yes. Okay, affirmative.
Even if I'm not your supervisor, inshallah, we will have, like a group supervision from time to time. Maybe during one semester, we can meet 2 or 3 times a week just to discuss your problems in the writing of your thesis. Because, different candidates, different PhD candidates have a different background. Some have strong background in research. Some lacks the research background. So research background is very important. Along the way, there are things that you need to do according to the procedure or the scientific methods of doing research. Yeah. So if you do something that is contrary or not compliant with the scientific way of doing research, then we will help you. Okay, inshallah. Any other question?
Not yet for me. From because I still confused. Sorry.
Sure, you can ask question if you are confused.
Can we use my thesis as a proposal?
Again,
Can I use my thesis from the master degree as
sure,
a,
sure.
oh, Thank you.
What we'll do is we'll try to upgrade your thesis from masters.
Okay.
We'll try to upgrade means maybe we can improve. If you do quantitative research, maybe we can improve the theoretical framework of the study. We can make it more comprehensive. The literature review, we can include the more recent literatures, and we'll do the literature review at a PhD level. So I believe sometimes doing research or doing literature review at PhD level is a little bit different from master's level. We need to synthesize what others have done. We need to compare and contrast, analyze, synthesize the findings that has been done by previous researchers. So we'll try to improve. We improve the theoretical framework to be more comprehensive, and I will teach you. I will share with you how to analyze the data using Smart PLS. That is a software that is among the best at this time in terms of analyzing data, because it has several advantages over other software. For example, at master's level, you might have used SPSS. Okay, there's nothing wrong with SPSS, but there are limitations to SPSS compared to Smart PLS. So we will use Smart PLS because it is like the second generation of data analysis. So it's like, the new model of a car and the old model of a car. So I don't know, but in Indonesia, sometimes Toyota have like the old Vios. Now introduce a new Vios, which is which is better and can do a lot more. So Smart PLS is like the second generation. It's like a new model of SPSS.
Okay.
Because the SPSS has some limitations. We will also cover SPSS a little bit, because SPSS is the basic. It's the first generation of data analysis. Now we are in the second generation of data analysis, which is much better and can do the analysis in a more practical way. I will discuss about that later.
Yeah.
How different, how Smart PLS is.
Thank you for the advice.
It's more practical and makes more sense compared to SPSS. I will try to teach in a simple way, because to study SPSS and Smart PLS, we need a strong background in statistics, right? If you don't have basic statistics, I will try to explain in a simple way. Not all of us has a statistic background, right? Some has some statistics.
Thank you.
Some doesn't have statistics background, but I will try, to explain in so that everybody can understand without having to go to the detail in the statistics. Of course, if you have strong statistical background, when we do data analysis, you will understand much faster, right?
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Okay, so I will try to find our lecture materials. Brother Sosonko, what time is it in Uganda? I think it's early in the morning. We have Madam Habiba from Nigeria. I think they are very early it's too early for them. Maybe, I will discuss with them. Maybe we need to change the time to later time, for example, to accommodate them. Because I set 10 a.m. in the morning, Malaysian time, because it's convenient for me. But maybe it's not convenient for others. Just let me know. We can change time to accommodate everybody. Brother Sonko, is it okay? The time is okay? All right.
According to Google, it is 6:51 in Uganda, Prof.
Maybe it's not suitable. Maybe it's a Fajar time.
Yeah, I think so.
So next week, can we change to, for example, 2 o'clock in the evening on Sunday? Maybe that's better for them. Is it all right if we change the time for next class? What do you think? Can you suggest any time? I'm okay if we move the time. Any suggestion?
What about Sunday night, Prof?
Sunday night, eh?
Yeah,
It's all right for me. If you want Sunday night.
7 o'clock.
8 o'clock Malaysian time.
Jakarta time, yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's all right for me.
Yeah, we can use our weekend to do silaturahim with our brothers.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Jakarta.
sure.
Mm.
So if everybody agrees, we can have, for example, Sunday night, 8 o'clock Malaysian time. Okay, inshallah. Yeah, because sometimes there are many events on Saturday and Sunday.
Yes,
No
right.
problem, Pak.
Okay, so okay.
Okay, inshallah.
Okay, Pak Saiful.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
So it looks like Brother Sonko cannot follow us.
It will be great on Sunday.
Sunday night, inshallah. Okay, let's let's start our class. We just go briefly about what is research. We discuss briefly about research. So if you have question, you can ask me. If Brother Songko is not here, we can speak Indonesia. But if he's here, we speak in English just to, to appreciate everybody. Oh, Brother Songko is with us. Are you with us? Okay. You can have your Fajr prayer. You can have your Fajr prayer. Because we will record this meeting and I will send to you in the WhatsApp the link to this video. Okay, what is research? Research is the creation of new knowledge and or the use of existing knowledge in a new and creative way so as to generate new concepts, new methodologies, and better understandings about our world, right? So that is the purpose of doing research. We want to do what has not been done, somewhat different from what others have done. Maybe we improve on the methodologies. Maybe we improve on the framework that have been used by others. Maybe we improve on the methodologies to analyze the data. Maybe we introduce new variables. So it's a creation of new knowledge, yeah, and or the use of existing knowledge in a new and creative way. We look at the existing knowledge and we want to look at from in a different way. Okay, Mr. Somko says he's following. Alhamdulillah. So the definition of research encompasses pure and applied research and experimental development research. But for this class, we will just talk about two types of research, pure and applied research. So we'll just talk about these two things, pure and applied research. Okay. So what is pure research? Pure research is a type of research that aims primarily to expand the boundary of knowledge. Okay. So in a topic that you choose, any topic that you choose, there are studies that have been done on the topic. Okay, that is called the boundary of knowledge. The boundary of knowledge refers to what is known, what we know about the topic. What does it mean? What is known? What is known means what others have done on the topic. So that's why we do literature review, right? We want to know what has been done by other people related to our topic. And at this stage, it's very important to determine what is your topic. Sometimes students write a very long topic, but usually in a very long topic, there are only 2 or 3 words that represents your topic. So it's very important to identify your topic. Okay, so pure research aims at expanding the boundary of knowledge. So we want to study what others have done, and we want to do something that has not been done. Yeah, that is called the the expansion of the boundary of knowledge. Ada yang sudah banyak kajian yang telah dibuat tentang tajuk sesuatu topik ya. Jadi kita dalam pure research ini kita mau membuat sesuatu yang belum dikaji ya. Maybe new variable, maybe new methods. Itu dipanggil pure research. Some people call it fundamental research. And the second type of research is called applied research. Applied research is a type of research that intends to solve the everyday or real world problems. So in applied research, we need real world problems. Yeah, for example, high unemployment, just for example. That is a real world problem. Then how we solve that problem? How are we going to solve the problem? We need a research to solve a particular and specific real world problem. That is called applied research. So there are two types of research, two ways or two schools of thoughts about research. One is pure research. Pure research intends to expand the boundary of knowledge. Means what we already know, and we want to do something that has not been done. Means we want to search what is not known at this time. So that is called pure research. Applied research, we need to find a real world problem, and we want to find the solutions. In theory, I find that some of the PhD candidates, they combine both pure and applied research. It is still all right. You can still combine. Okay, so we are in Islamic finance. Our research is about Islamic finance. Islamic finance is very wide. Yeah, it includes Islamic banking, Islamic capital market, Islamic social finance, such as zakat, waqaf, Islamic microfinance, Islamic crowdfunding, what else? Sukuk. So sukuk is part of Islamic finance also. It is part of Islamic social finance. It is part of Islamic capital market. And we have areas like maqasid, sharia. What
How
else?
about fintech, Prof?
Fintech.
Financial.
Sure. Yeah, financial inclusion or fintech is also part of the Islamic finance, because in Islamic finance also nowadays is rapidly adopting the new technologies. We cannot run away from IR 4.0, and now we are moving to IR 5.0. So fintech is a very crucial instrument in developing Islamic finance, in making Islamic finance relevant in today's world. So Islamic finance is, one of the areas that is considered as essential in today's world, especially in the post-COVID, because there are many economic problems that we face, high unemployment in certain countries, people who fall to the category of, poor people. Before they were, for example, middle income earners. Now they are poor. Some of them have lost jobs. Some of them have to choose or switch jobs. The problems of poverty, problems of high unemployment, problem of education, high inflation rate. So these are some of the problems that we are facing, and we are trying to study on how Islamic finance can play part, right? Can play part in helping people affected by the economic hardship. So Allah gives us, tests, right? Tests with the COVID tests and other types of tests. So it's our job to find ways to help other people. So Islamic finance is very important. So you can choose any topics that is relevant. So Islamic finance it falls under social research. Basically, we study about people, right? About the people. It's a social research. So social research has developed as a way of building knowledge, okay, that promotes agreed upon practices within the community that help us avoid the limitations and pitfalls of other ways of knowing. So in this social research, we are learning about how to do research in a scientific manner, because at every stage, when we are doing PhD, your supervisors will ask you, why you do it this way? Okay? So we need to justify in a scientific manner. Okay. So, and we will also learn about how to avoid making mistakes in doing research. I just want to share. Some people ask me, how do we choose the topic in Islamic finance? It's not an easy question. How you choose a topic? There are many ways of how people choose a topic. Some of them they expand from the master's thesis. Some of them they have this curiosity about certain things. They got from the topic from seminars. They got the topic from talking to their colleagues, talking to some experts. There are many ways of how students choose the topic. But here is my suggestion and my advice. Choose a topic that you can get the data. You must think about the data. Number one, can you get the data? So number two, if the data is not accessible, can you collect the data? Okay. So there are two types of data. One is primary data, and two is secondary data. So you ask your question, if you want to use secondary data, means data published by other people or other institutions, is the data accessible? If you can find the data, yes. If you cannot find the secondary data, no. But if you decide to use the primary data, then you ask yourself, for example, you want to do questionnaire, right? So you ask yourself, what are the constructs or what are the variables that I want to include in the theoretical framework? Okay, anybody here know or hear about theoretical framework? At PhD level, usually we have theoretical framework if you want to do the quantitative research. I'm from the quantitative background. So my knowledge about qualitative is quite limited. I know some, but I don't know much. But quantitative, inshallah, I've done some research. So in quantitative research, usually we have theoretical framework, right? So you want to ask yourself, what are the variables to be included in the theoretical framework? Suppose you have 5 variables. Suppose you have 5. Huh? So you ask yourself, can I get the questionnaire items for each of the constructs? If you cannot find, you'll be in trouble somewhat. But if you can find, there are previous studies that have used that have these questionnaire items. Some studies they give to the readers the questionnaire items for each variables that you include in the questionnaire. Okay, you need to write the items so that the respondents will answer your questions. It's very difficult to construct the items, but if you have other researchers, who already have the item questionnaires, then you can adapt and adopt, and you are done. For example, when I did my research, I want to test the influence of religiosity on the compliance behavior of income zakat. So I asked myself, how do I measure religiosity? I want to measure religiosity from Islamic perspective, because when I search, there are many ways or many items written by previous researchers to measure religiosity. So I asked myself, how am I going to measure religiosity? Because I want to include religiosity as one of the variables in my framework. So Allah helped me, I found this one guy, the name is Kraus. Yeah, and he later became Muslim, Professor Abdul Latif. Yeah, so I found that he has many questionnaire items to measure religiosity. So I say, Alhamdulillah, Allah help me. So I got the questionnaire items, I adapt and adopt, and then I send to respondents. So my job is become easy. So that are some of the things that you want to ask yourself. Okay, so at this stage, those are the things that you might consider. When I choose a topic, you ask yourself, when you choose a topic, can I get the data? How am I going to get the data? If you choose a topic that you don't know whether you can get the data or not, later on you will be stuck, how am I going to get this data? Because you need the data to provide evidence to support or not to support your research objective. And you have your research hypothesis, right? You need to support or not support. Your data will support or not support the research hypothesis. So you need the data, Because that's my answer about how we choose a topic. Choose a topic that you can obtain the data. Some students, they are very ambitious. I want to study this. I want to study this. Very ambitious, When I ask, how are you going to get the data? Then if the students can get the data, it's all right. If the students cannot get the data, then you have to change the topic. Okay, any questions so far? So we are very early. Any questions, Dr. Saiful? Anything you want to add? Please add. I don't know everything, yeah? I just tell you what I know. Okay, you might add anything, Dr. Saiful, or anybody?
I think it's clear enough, Prof.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have personal beliefs about something, right? Some people, they have personal beliefs about something and they want to test whether it is true or not. So then they do the research. So, but for me, it's very important before you decide your topic, think about the type of data that you need and whether they are available or not in order to support your hypothesis or your belief. Yeah, in research we call hypothesis. You know, for public they call the beliefs. We need to turn the belief into hypothesis. Hypothesis must be measurable. Yeah, you cannot have hypothesis that cannot be measured, cannot be measured, cannot be put into numbers. So for quantitative, we need numbers. And we need to measure. For example, religiosity. Wow, how do we measure religiosity? It's inside your heart, your religiosity. And sometimes religiosity is shown by your amal, what you do. You pray or not, you read Quran or not, you help other people or not. It's very difficult, but fortunately, there are previous researchers, previous studies who have measured religiosity. So that's very important. Find the variables that have been measured and tested by other studies. So your job will be much easier. Okay, purposes of social research. So we fall under social research. There are many purposes for conducting social research. I list down some of the important purposes. Number one is exploration. At this stage, there are some research topics that have not been studied before. Okay, so we have a new and relatively under-researched topic, meaning there are some topics when you go and try to search the literature, not many, you find not many have done. So you want to do the exploratory research. So exploratory research is done on the topics that have not been previously researched extensively. Means not many people have done the research on the topic. So that is the easiest one, exploratory. So exploratory research help us fill a gap about what have been studied, not many people have studied, and what we want to study. So we want to explore more about the topic because the topic is under-researched. Means not many researchers have done the research on that topic, right? So that's the main purpose of the social research, to explore the topics that have not been researched. When researchers conduct a literature review and come up short, you know, sometimes we do a research on this topic, not many people have done, so we come up short. So this absence of adequate research is often an indicator that exploratory research is needed. Exploratory research is straightforward. It's not complicated. And it's done in the area that has not been studied much. So it's like you are one of the, like pioneers. Not the pioneers, but one of the pioneers. because there are not many people who have done on that topic. Okay, so number 2 is description. So description is the type of research that describe the behavior of people, describe the activities of people, certain events. This is very simple. Describe something without having to explain why it happens. We just describe whatever happens as it is. In quantitative research, we use like table, you know, and the numbers are stated in raw numbers or in percentage or in frequency. Oh. Sorry, I think I'm catching a flu. All right. So, descriptive is a type of research that describe certain behavior or describe events or describe something. In quantitative research, we put in table form. For example, the number of people who pay zakat, right? For example, the number of people in Kedah who pays income zakat in 2020. So we have the number of zakat collection, the number of people who pay zakat, and the percentage. So in my opinion, the description is not enough for PhD. Yeah? For PhD, we need explanation. Okay, so in one of the objectives of the research is to explain, to make explanation. Explanation involves causes and effects. Yeah? If something happens, why it happens? Yeah? What are the factors? What are the determinants? Right? So we want to examine in terms of correlations, in terms of the what we say the path or the relationship between variables, right? For example, I study the compliance of income zakat. So some people pay zakat, some Muslims, they comply by paying income zakat. Some Muslims, they are not compliant, meaning they don't pay income zakat to the authority. What are the factors that make them pay? What are the factors that makes them not compliant? Means they don't pay. So why some Muslims pay zakat? Why some Muslims don't pay zakat? So that is the cause and effect, right? So it's called causal relationship. For example, attitude influence compliance behavior of income zakat. So if people have high attitude about paying zakat, then he or she is likely to pay zakat. For example, so A causes B, attitude causes compliance. Okay, religiosity causes zakat compliance. If a person is highly religious, then he or she is more likely to pay income zakat. So you might find the significant factors that influence a certain behavior. For example, compliance behavior of income zakat, adoption of Islamic banking, the adoption of waqaf, whatever the topics that you want to choose, you might want to find what are the factors. So we call these factors as independent variables. So independent variables are the variables that affect what we want to study. So what we want to study, we call dependent variable. We will talk about that later. So in our framework, we will have dependent variable, we will have independent variables, we might have a mediating variable, and we might have moderating variable. So we will discuss more about that later, inshallah. But for now, I would say that at PhD level, the primary purpose of our doing research is explanation. Means we want to find the determinants and the factors, that influence the topic that we choose. Okay. So when we do research, in quantitative research, the first thing that we need to find out, what is our dependent variable? That is very important. What is our dependent variable? The keyword is important. For example, I did a research on compliance behavior of income zakat. So my dependent variable is compliance behavior. So it's very important to determine your topic, your dependent variable. Once you determine your dependent variable, your DV, then you search. Nowadays, you are lucky. When I was young, in the 1990s, when I was doing masters, I had to go to library to find articles. Sometimes one day you are lucky, you get 5 or 6 articles. I have my DV. Okay, so as I have to go to the library catalog and go to specific section to find the articles. One day I'm lucky if I got 5 or 6 articles. Now, with the technology, you can get 200 articles in one day. If you know your dependent variable and if you know the strategy to find the articles. So finding articles is fast. It's very quick nowadays. But I find that some PhD students, they are having trouble to locate and to get articles because they are not clear about their dependent variables and the independent variables. So although to save the articles is very fast, to get and save the PDF is very fast, but it takes time to choose. Not everything that you download you want to choose. Some of them are not really related to your study. You delete that thing takes time. Yeah. Downloading the articles doesn't take time, but choosing and selecting the right and the significant article takes time. And to do the literature review takes time. I will share with you how to do the literature review in a systematic way. Some people, they waste 1 year. Some people, they waste more than 1 year just to write literature review because they did not do it in the systematic way. So literature review needs to be written in a systematic literature review. We call SLR, systematic literature review. Okay. And then the fourth one, I will not cover because this is very rarely we do PhD thesis for community change or action. These are usually done by some other people. All right. So types of research, we have pure research and we have applied research. I need another 10 minutes of break for coffee. So you can, take 10 minutes of break. I feel sleepy. Okay. Excuse me for 10 minutes.
Okay, Prof. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, we'll continue. Everybody is still here, Mr. Sonko?
Yeah, Prof.
Yeah.
I just was drinking tea or juice.
Thank you. I will put up the recording of this lecture in my YouTube channel. I have YouTube channel, Dr. Yusuf TV. Please click the link and please like, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can see the previous recordings of this class from last semester and from previous semesters. So if you're free, you can watch the videos on advanced research methodology from last semester also. So please like, subscribe, and you can share with your friends. My YouTube channel, I have recorded videos on research method, on fiqh for Islamic finance. If you like, you can still view the videos. On what else? Research, fiqh for Islamic finance, and some other classes. I forgot. Islamic economics also.
Oh yeah, Prof. Sorry, Prof. I just received information from Pak Firdaus. He said he cannot join the Zoom meeting today, so maybe you need to approve his request.
Okay, it's all right. It's all right. So he can view the recording of this lecture, inshallah. So
Okay.
anytime, for example, if you cannot join, it's still all right. It is considered as attendance also if you view the recording. So it's still considered as you attend the lecture, even if you don't attend, but you must watch the recorded video. Eh? Okay, inshallah. Okay, like we said, there are two types of research, pure research and applied research. Pure research is usually used to develop new knowledge that advances our understanding of the real world. So it evaluates concepts and theories and thus attempts to expand the limits of existing knowledge. So in Islamic finance, I would say that most of our research are in pure research. What we do is we want to examine the current or existing theories, yeah, and we want to expand what we have known. We want to expand the understanding of the real world. So some of the topics that we choose may be somewhat similar to what others have done, but in a different way. You know, we look at what others have done and we want to expand. Like I said, maybe we want to expand, we want to introduce new variables, or we want to change the current theoretical framework so that, you know, we can expand the boundaries of the existing knowledge. So we might be able to support or to reject some of the theories that some of the existing theories in the field of Islamic finance. Applied research is a type of research conducted when we want, when we have a specific real world problem and we want to find the solutions to the problem. So the main objective of conducting applied research is to improve human conditions. For example, like I said, if we have, for example, we have many real world problems such as economic depression, unemployment, inflation, poverty. Then we want to find the solutions to help those people living under poverty, for example, those people who are struggling to meet the needs, to meet the everyday needs, for example, to help people that are unbankable, for example, people who cannot apply loans, for example. So the principal objective of doing applied research is to find solutions to the whatever the problems that we are facing. So we can use Islamic finance as instruments or tools to help improve the well-being of the humans, Muslims and non-Muslims. So in reality, sometimes at PhD level, we combine both a pure research and applied research. Okay, the 5 approaches to research, like we discussed, we have quantitative research, we have qualitative research, and we have mixed methods research, art-based research, and community-based participatory research, CBPR. But in this class, we will only discuss these 3: quantitative research, qualitative research, and mixed method research. What is quantitative research? When we talk about quantitative research, we talk about research that use the data that can be measured. It must have numbers, yeah? Quantitative measures. So the data can be analyzed using numbers. Okay, so in quantitative research, what we want is we want to test a certain theory. Right? We have a framework, right? We have a framework, and we want to test whether the data support or does not support our hypothesis. Yeah. So we have hypothesis, we have framework. We go out and collect the data, and we analyze the data, and we want to conclude whether the data support or reject our hypothesis. So some people ask me, what if the data does not support your hypothesis? Means, what if your hypothesis is rejected? Is it okay? Can we pass PhD? They are worried, if the data does not support the hypothesis. So there is hilaf, hilaf. There is a difference of opinion. Some researchers, they say, we want most of the hypotheses to be supported by empirical data. But in general, it's all right whether the data is supported or rejected, as long as we can justify. So, in my opinion, if the data is supported, and it is supported by previous studies, our job is easy to justify, right? But if our hypothesis is not supported by data, And suppose previous studies have shown that the hypothesis is supported, then we will have a much more difficult time to give justification. Yeah, some students, they are nervous. Oh, many of my hypothesis is not supported by data. They become nervous. So to me, it's all right whether the data is supported or not, as long as we can justify. If it is supported, how we justify. If it's not supported, how we justify. We'll talk more on that later. So the most important is when we do quantitative research, we have theoretical framework, we have the variables, right? And we want to go out and collect the data, and then we test whether the data support or reject the hypothesis. So usually when we do quantitative research, we have to write according to certain structure. For example, chapter 1, introduction, chapter 2, literature review and theory, chapter 3, research methods, chapter 4, results or findings, and chapter 5, discussion, recommendation, and conclusion. So that is the basic structure of the thesis in quantitative research, 5 chapters. Chapter 1, introduction, chapter 2, literature review and theory, chapter 3, research methods, chapter 4, results or findings, chapter 5, discussion, recommendation, and conclusion. Okay, any question on research, on quantitative research? So in quantitative research, we say we use deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning means we have theory first. We must have theory. Then we go out, collect data, and we want to provide empirical evidence to support or to reject our theory and hypothesis. Any question on that one? If you're confused, you can ask questions.
Prof. Yusuf.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, in doing our PhD thesis, actually, it is a compilation of some paper we publish in journal. Is that I think it's so. Is it okay if we make a very specific research, something like comparing one method to the others to find somehow the accuracy of each method that we want to use in our thesis? So is it okay for us to do?
Yes, it's all right. It's just we need to convert into research questions, research objectives, right? So we need to write properly how we write the research question, how we write research objectives. But in the end, the reader will see that what we do can answer the research question and research objectives. Although it's quite difficult, it is possible. We can, because one of the objectives might be to improve the methodology. Yeah, in terms of the methodology, we can do the research to find the best method. Yeah, the best method. So can you be more specific, Dr. Saiful? For example, what is the objective?
Yeah. It's actually just to make clear that when we try to set the objective of our thesis, is actually the group of our plan publication. So when we already finish our publication, 1 or 2 papers or more than 2 or 3 papers, then we can compile the articles to be our thesis.
Sure, you can. Sure. Because
Okay, thank you.
from the research articles, we find that there are many independent variables, for example, right? And we have the same dependent variable. So, for example, Article 1, you have one dependent variable, and you have 3, for example, independent variables. For Article 2, you have one dependent variable and another 3, for example, and so on. So if you look at the articles, right, so there might be some common independent variables, and there might be some independent variables that are different from one article to another. So what you want to do, you put out, like a framework for each article, right? Maybe you print out, put on the floor the framework for each articles, and you try to combine, make it into one big framework. So it is also possible to do that. There are many ways to write your framework. Let me share with you one example of a framework.
Oh yeah, Prof. What about if we have a different research article, different topic of research article that we cannot put it in our thesis? So, is it can we use the published article to be our requirement for PhD graduation?
Yes, as long as there are some connections to the one, there must be some connections, right,
So
to the topic. And number 2, the authors must be the authors must be the student name and the supervisors. If authors do not include, if the articles do not include supervisors as the authors, then it is not counted.
yeah, for example, if for my case, my research topic is about the scoring system for Islamic banks performance, but actually I already have 2 papers that talking about philanthropy and microfinance that already it is ready to publish actually. So the connection is not strong enough to relate with my thesis. So how about that? Can I still use the article to be my graduation my graduation my PhD graduation in UNISA?
I think we can try to submit, but usually they require that it has some kind of connection with the topic. We can try to submit that as a proof of publication. So
Requirement.
yeah, we will try. We will try, because from the last meeting they said 2 things. Number 1, the author must be the student and the supervisors. Number 2, the topic must somehow be related to the topic of the research of the thesis. So that's what they say.
So the connection means that the research should be written in the thesis.
A connection means the topic is kind of related.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though it is not written in our thesis.
Yeah, even if it's not written, yes.
Okay.
Even if it's not written, it's all right. The topic is somehow related. For example, the article is about waqaf, and the thesis is also about waqaf. For example, in general form, it's kind of related.
Okay.
Or what other example? Yeah, anything that we think is kind of related, so it's all right. It's kind of subjective. Yeah, we just need to explain that it is related. Yes, even if the article is not mentioned in the thesis. Let me share with you one example of a framework. If we want to do, where is it? Can you see or not? This
Yes,
is
bro.
this is the theoretical framework of the study. So this for PhD, if you want to do a quantitative research, and I believe most of you will do quantitative research, the main thing is to develop the theoretical framework of the study. This is just an example. You don't need to explain attitude. You don't need to understand all of this. Yeah, it's just imagine these are the variables. To the right here, this one is called dependent variable. Usually we have one dependent variable, and we have to the left, there are 4 independent variables. And in the middle here is called the mediating variable. And here underneath is called the moderating. So we have 4 types of variables: dependent, independent, mediating, and moderating. Okay, we will talk about this later. But for today, I just want to show you, this is an example of theoretical framework at PhD level. So the question is, how are we going to develop this framework? Okay, of course, you need to do the literature review, right? And you find other research that have been done on the compliance behavior. So the topic of the research is compliance behavior. In this case, compliance behavior of income zakat. So this is very important. You at this stage, as soon as possible, we want to determine what is the topic of your research. Okay. And then you think about how you are going to develop and how are you going to find or collect the data. You need the data. To support the hypothesis. So from this framework, I think the most difficult part of doing PhD thesis is to find a theoretical framework like this that can be justified, right? So it looks difficult, but if you know the systematic way of writing the theoretical framework, it's not that difficult. How are we going to develop theoretical framework? Number one, look at here. It says theoretical framework of the study, adopted from Eisen, 1991, Kamil, 2002, Zaino, 2008, and Ram Al-Jafri, 2010. So what I did was, I looked up theoretical framework by Eisen, theoretical framework by Kamil, Zainal, and Ram Al-Jafri. So these are the 4 sources of research that I used as my point of reference. So I'm not very smart, so I use this 4 framework. So from Eisen, I pick up attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, intention, and compliance behavior. These are from Eisen, right? And this was also used by Kamil, for example. Kamil used different variables, but it also has attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavioral control. I looked up Zainal, also has attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavioral control. And Ram Al-Jafri also has attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, and Islamic religiosity by Ram Al-Jafri. So I said, oh, I want to add this one. Okay. So I'm set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one has never been used by anybody doing compliance behavior. So I said, oh, this is the new variable that I want to introduce. So if the examiner asks, hey, what is your contribution to knowledge? I say, oh, I introduce a new variable that is significant to this framework, which is moral obligation. And my second contribution is previous studies have never used Islamic religiosity. Previous studies only use religiosity. So this is a new concept of religiosity, which is the religiosity from Islamic point of view. So I read Imam Al-Ghazali point of view about religiosity, and I also use Krauss, Professor Krauss. So that is how you divide it. So the most common mistake made by PhD students is they introduce something new, and then they don't know how to create the research questions. So every time you have the variables, or we call the constructs, and you plan to collect the data using questionnaire, right? So you must have the questionnaire items ready. So what I did was I looked at Zainal and Ram Al-Jafri, and then they have the questionnaires ready for attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, intention, and compliance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, set. And this one is not set. So I have to look up from Krauss, right? From Professor Krauss. So I found, Alhamdulillah, Allah help me, I found these items. I have more than 60 items, and I want to choose about 24. So I chose, so everything is ready. The only problem is this one. How we measure moral obligation, which has not been included before. So I was lucky, I got the moral obligation items from, I cannot remember, from one of the researchers who measured moral obligation. So I found that, these items are ready. So after I got all the items for all of this, and then I'm ready to collect the data. Okay, so the importance of having this framework is, number one, we must link the framework to the research objective and research questions. Okay, remember now, attitude, intention, right? H1 refers to hypothesis 1. So attitude goes to intention. Look at the research question. Does attitude have influence on intention? So that is the keyword. Attitude to intention. Okay. Let's look at the framework again. Now, subjective norm to intention, right? Subjective norm to intention, I put H2. Means hypothesis number 2. So we go back to research question. Right? So subjective norm, does subjective norm has influence on intention? So that is called alignment. So your framework and your research question must be aligned. For number 1, does attitude have influence on the intention? Okay. Let's look at the objective. To examine the influence of attitude on intention. So research question objectives and research questions are aligned, right? Attitude and intention. And then subjective norm and intention. So research objective and research questions, they are aligned. Attitude, intention, subjective norm, and intention. Just the difference is research questions are written in a question format, and research objectives are written in a positive format. All right. And the rest are the same. Okay, so it has to align. Let's look at number 3. Number 3, perceived behavioral control to intention. Okay, does perceived behavioral control have influence on intention? Okay, and then research objective to examine the influence of perceived behavioral control on intention. So you can see that each of the objectives, each of the research questions are written and it is aligned with the theoretical framework. So examiners will examine these kind of things, the alignment between your theoretical framework. So all of these are aligned, between your theoretical framework, research questions, research objectives, and your hypothesis. Let's look at hypothesis 1. Hypothesis 1, hypothesis development of attitude. So hypothesis 1 says, attitude towards compliance behavior of income zakat has a positive influence on intention. So the keyword is the same. Attitude has significant influence on intention. So you can see that all of these are aligned, right? So the theoretical framework H1 attitude to intention, okay, is aligned with research questions and research objective, and aligned with hypothesis 1, right? And it goes for the rest of the construct. So H2 relates with research question 2, research objective 2, and hypothesis number 2. H3, H4, H5, and H6. So we have 6 research questions, 6 research objectives. So we have 6 research questions, right? And we have 6 research objectives, right? And we have 6 hypotheses. Hypothesis 1, okay, attitude. Hypothesis 2, about subjective norms. Hypothesis 3 is about the third variable, perceived behavioral control. Hypothesis 4, the fourth variable, which is moral obligation. Hypothesis 5 is about Islamic religiosity. And hypothesis 6 is intention to compliance behavior. So let's look at the framework again. So we have 6, yeah? Hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2, hypothesis 3, hypothesis 4, hypothesis 5, and hypothesis 6. So they are all aligned. They have alignment with each other. So the theoretical framework is aligned with research questions, research objectives, and the hypothesis. Any questions so far? Please ask questions.
Sorry, Prof. I want to ask.
Yes, please ask questions.
How many minimum question in research question, Prof? Is
Very,
minimum
very
question?
good question. Very good question. There is no magic number, eh? There is no magic number. How many independent variables? Usually this is like the standard for PhD. Yeah? Usually we have 4 IVs, 4 independent variables. 3 is the minimum, 4 is better, 5 is much better. But some people, they don't want to have too many. And then usually we have also mediating. And if we have moderating, then it's like you know, you have something you know, in Melayu, in Malaysia we say like you drink coffee at Starbucks, they put something extra, I don't know what, on top. You drink and you say, oh, something like that. So moderating, even if you don't have, it's still all right. But if you have moderating, it can show that your research is more comprehensive. But of course, you need to justify why you put a certain variable as moderating. Why in this case you need mediating. In this case, attitude doesn't influence compliance directly, because attitude influence intention, because before you do certain thing, right? You have to have intention first. Yeah. So your attitude influence intention. After that, then you will do certain. You perform certain behavior. For example, salat. Yeah. You want to do salat or not? So you have to have the attitude. Oh, I like to perform salat, right? Then when you hear azan, now I have intention to perform salat. Then you go and take wudu, then you perform salat. So attitude goes to the intention, niyyah. Yeah, in Islam, we have, before we do certain thing, we have the intention to do. So we just need to justify. So people might ask, why you need intention? But then you have to have the answer, right? Islamic religiosity, why it is important? For example, you have good attitude, right? You want to perform salat or not? I changed the topic, because I've talked about zakat too much. Now I just changed to salat, just for purpose of discussion, right? This is done on in the environment of zakat. But let's suppose we change to salat, right? Compliance behavior means we perform salat or not? Okay. So suppose we have attitude, right? I like to perform salat. When I hear azan, I perform salat because I like to perform salat. So that's the attitude. Salat is good for me. So that's the attitude. Then you have the intention. Okay, I will perform salat when I hear the adhan. Then you perform salat. Islamic religiosity moderates relationship. Moderates means it either strengthen or weaken the relationship. In this case, we say, or we hypothesize that Islamic religiosity will strengthen the relationship. Okay, if someone has high religiosity, good attitude, then it is more likely that the attitude will influence the intention. He has a good attitude already, but if he is highly religious, he always performs salat before, he help other people, he read Quran every day, then it will strengthen the relationship between attitude and intention. That's how we defend our conceptual framework. Everything that you include must be justified. You cannot just put something. If somebody asks you why you put, oh, I don't know, I think. It cannot be like that. If you put something, you must have a strong reasoning. And you can also use previous studies. Okay, for example, why do you include attitude here? Okay, you must develop the hypothesis, right? Okay, you must develop the hypothesis. You say, for example, you say attitudes can influence a person's intention. Yeah, why? By increasing the person's motivation to engage in a certain behavior, right? Individuals are more likely to engage in behaviors that are perceived to have favorable outcomes for them. For example, I have good attitude to perform salat. Why? Because performing salat, Allah give me a reward, right? For example. And then you say, okay, this is the first justification, right? This is the first. You just justify the inclusion of the variables based on your what do you say? The logic, yeah, the logic. It must be significant. The logic must be significant, and then you can also support by previous researchers. You can say, oh, there are many researchers that have used this variable before, although in different contexts. Some have used attitude in the context of tax, some in the context of waqf, some have used attitude in the context of Islamic banking, and some have used in the context of zakat. So different contexts is all right. You can still use justification based on previous studies in different contexts. It's all right. Okay, any question? I hope I don't make you confused. I'm just sharing.
I'm Prof. How if the use variable moderating and the variable of mediating?
Good question.
And then it must be to use or part of two only mediating or intermediating. That's all.
Good question. These are the common questions asked by students. Is it necessary to have mediating? Is it necessary to have moderating? The answer is no. In certain contexts, mediating is included in the framework, and it must be justified. Yeah? So intention here is included because in this context, intention was included by previous researchers. For example, Eisen, Kamil, Zainal, and Ramli. All these four, they put intention as mediating. So you include mediating only if you can prove or justify that it is significant. Yeah. The same as moderating. Some students say, Prof, I don't want to include moderating. Well, okay. If you don't want to include. But in this case, the researcher include because there are previous studies that has included religiosity. Although the previous study did not include Islamic religiosity. So, do I want to include or not? Well, you don't have to. But if previous studies have included and you want to include, but different variable, that is very good. Because a PhD is about doing something that is different, right? So the reason I put here is I want to contribute to the knowledge. I want to include moderating variable. And my contribution is to include something different from what has been included before. So this Islamic religiosity, I want to show to the readers that this is the most complete religiosity construct, and it is constructed based on Islamic perspective that has never been done before. So when I say that in the Bible, or examiners are happy, so that is your contribution. Yes, that is my contribution, for example. Because at PhD, we want to have some novelty. Novelty means you have something new that you want to introduce to the readers. This is, I tried also moral obligation that has never been used before. So I just tried. I had some trouble to defend because one examiner says moral obligation is related to Islamic religiosity. So I have to prove that these are two different things. You know, at proposal defense, some examiners, they ask you questions. Like they ask me, okay, Mr. Yusuf, there are some similarities between moral obligation and religiosity. So that there might be a strong multicollinearity or strong correlation between moral obligation and Islamic religiosity. How do you justify? Then we need to justify. So I said, Prof, actually, these are two different things. Okay, so according to this person, moral obligation is defined as this. Okay, so I give the justification. It's not important now, right now. So the most important thing is you have justification. Okay. So for example, what is a moral obligation? So moral obligation is defined as a moral responsibility to pay income zakat. This is moral obligation, right? And then, yeah, you just need to justify. And then I said, Islamic religiosity is different because the religiosity has three dimensions. Yeah, Islamic religiosity, according to Al-Ghazali, 2009, consists of three dimensions: aqidah, specific ibadah, and muamalah with other people. And Imam Ghazali called akhlaq Islamiyah. So they are actually different. Moral obligation and religiosity are different things. And it is measured differently. Okay, this is how we measure moral obligation. And this is how we measure religiosity. It has three dimensions. So as long as you can answer, right? Okay, that is the point. Okay, did I answer your question or not?
Yes, enough, Prof. Thank you.
Most welcome. Any other question? You can ask.
Prof,
Yes,
maybe,
Dr. Safo, yeah.
yeah, maybe you can tell us about the behind the skin, behind the story of your thesis writing, like how hard you convince your supervisor at the time.
Yes. When I write, before I write the research proposal, I read this thing because I use the theory of planned behavior, right? So attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, intention, and compliance are from Eisen, right? So I need to read and really understand the theory of planned behavior. And then, Alhamdulillah, Allah helped me. I have the access to these 4 PhD theses by Kamil, Zaino, and Ram Al-Jafri. So I studied how they write their thesis, right? Different people write in a different way. So I want to write in my own way. So I read all these 3 theses and articles by Eisen, 1991 article, and also other articles. Eisen have written many articles on the theory of planned behavior. So what I do is I just combine the framework, right? Framework by Eisen, Kamil, Zaino, and Ram Al-Jafri. So when I did that, I justify everything. I showed to my supervisor, and he was very happy. Oh, this is your contribution. My supervisor is retired now. So Professor Dr. Wan Sulaiman, he retired already. He was very happy with Islamic religiosity because this is the first time that he saw Islamic religiosity from Islamic perspective. He was a religious person. So he said, did you read about what Imam Al-Ghazali write? I said, yes. And then I explained to him, right? So the rest he went through and he said, oh, it's all right because, this is from Eisen. So it's kind of straightforward, yeah? This thing are kind of straightforward. Just these 2 things. Islamic religiosity is more complicated and moral obligation is complicated because it's new thing. But Allah helped me. My supervisor agrees. So he said, oh, you can go for proposal defense now. So Alhamdulillah, sometimes you have a good supervisor. Good supervisor means if you justify to him, he agrees with you. Sometimes there are supervisors who are very strict. You try to convince him and he is not convinced. He or she is not convinced. He said, oh, some supervisor, you know, my friends who did PhD at other institutions, she presented the framework, and the supervisor also a lady. She said, no, you want to put another variable. I don't like this variable. So it gives her a headache. So there are some supervisors, Allah sent to you, good supervisors, So Allah help me. So there are some people who had a hard time, when the supervisor keeps give comments, and some of them they refuse. They did not accept your explanation. They say, do this way, do it my way, something like that. So my supervisor is not like that. As long as I can convince him, then he agrees. So Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, all supervisors at UNICEF very nice, huh?
That's
Amin.
You don't worry about the supervisor. You just try
That's
to
the most.
convince. You just try to convince,
So make our stressing.
So you follow this class, you ask me questions, and you know the right way to write the thesis. Inshallah, whoever your supervisor will agree, inshallah. Okay, I think it's about time we finish the class. We started at 10 o'clock. We're supposed to finish at 1 o'clock, but now it's 1:37. We are past the time already. Okay, inshallah, we will continue in the next class. So in the class, I encourage you to ask questions so that, I will be able to help you.
Maybe Brother Sasongko.
Yes, any questions, Brother Sasongko? Please ask question. Okay, if there is no question, I think that's all the class for today. Thank Allah for giving us the strength to follow the class. Alhamdulillah. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. If you have any questions, you can post in our class. And I will share this link in the WhatsApp group. MFQ8113 August 2022. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and you can view other recordings, other video recordings, research method from last semester also. Okay, that's all for today. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Prof. Yusuf.
Sama-sama.
Terima kasih Profesor Yusuf.
Jazakallah khair, Prof.
Iya, wa iyak.